he just completely shut this down, as there's been a lot of reports and speculation regarding RJ Barrett getting traded, how the Raptors are going to stay under the salary cap, and what's going on with extensions for Ochai, Agbaji, as well as RJ Barrett. Well, still GM, but new top dog out there in the Raptors front office, and Bobby Webster had a lot to say regarding all of these different situations as we enter this new season, new era of Toronto Raptors basketball without Masai Ujiri, and frankly illuminated a lot of what the Toronto Raptors' plans are in regards to trades, extensions, and how they are evaluating this entire season. So we're going to break down all of these quotes that Bobby Webster had to say and what it means for everything that's going on for this upcoming year. But before we dive into that, folks, mentioned on recent videos, but we are looking for football creators. So looking for creators of all different sports, but if you're a fan of the Bills, the Steelers, of all these different teams, make sure you guys check out the link down below if you want to join the Digest Media team and cover your favorite football team the same way we do here daily out there at Raptors Digest. So check us out down below. Let us know if you got any questions, and excited to hear from a bunch of you. But let's dive into the news, because this whole RJ Barrett situation has been something that a lot of people have looked at over the past little while. I've made it known my stance, how I'm feeling regarding RJ Barrett. I want to keep him. I've started a movement to keep RJ Barrett out here on this roster. And Bobby Webster just had a lot of quotes, had a lot of things to say regarding this scenario as well. So first things first, there's a lot of talk about RJ Barrett getting traded because of the salary cap situation. The Toronto Raptors have a lot of guys, get paid a significant amount of money. Immanuel Quickley, Scottie Barnes, Brandon Ingram, Jakob Poeltl just got an extension. RJ Barrett's on a significant salary. And then, a lot of guys that are out there, NBA caliber players on the roster. So, the Raptors are currently, cap projected to be a little bit over that soft luxury tax. So it's like, hey, will RJ Barrett be traded or not? That's the main reason that he's been thrown out in a ton of these trade rumors, because the Raptors weren't super competitive last year, and we know Rodgers, the new ownership group, they do not want to pay, into the luxury tax for a team that is not competitive. Well, Bobby Webster came out and shut this down directly, saying, "I've seen that the summer that became a big story. I don't know how big of a story that one is. I said the odds that this team is the exact same by the end of the year is probably 0, and then put that on top of some sort of one move you can make to get under the tax. I don't see that being an urgent piece. I think maybe your earlier point was that the basketball is always the urgent piece. If we come out and we're not competitive, we're having struggles, then we are forced to evaluate the situation. But I don't think that it's exacerbated by any other outside timeline or financial pressures. We are fortunate to be in one of the biggest, most lucrative markets in the entire NBA, so I don't see the financial piece affecting us." So this is very, very good to hear from Bobby Webster, who, of course, is now running the show. Masai Ujiri, there's a lot of talk about ownership not wanting to pay Masai Ujiri's lucrative salary and, cutting down those exec contracts in order to, get the margins higher out there for MLSE and stuff like that there. And they're wondering, hey, would Bobby Webster be coming in to, ease the books and all that stuff as well? Would that be what his plans are? Of course, this quote shuts that stuff down. And the main reason RJ Barrett would be thrown into these trade topics, trade discussions beyond fit and things like that is because he's the most tradable salary that we have in terms of a guy that's very talented basketball player, a guy that can be very effective out there on the basketball court, and has a sort of expensive contract that you can doubt. I mean, definitely someone across the NBA would be interested in picking up a guy that averages 21 points per game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 35% at the three-point line, and 40% on corner threes. So, of course, RJ Barrett would be a piece that's tradable if the Raptors are trying to offload salary. I don't think it would be smart. I've been outspoken about how I don't think it would be smart, but Bobby Webster shutting down that reasoning for making a trade like that. But what does that mean for extensions for guys like RJ Barrett as well as Ochai Agbaji? Because that has been a big topic of discussion as well, especially where Jakob Poeltl ended up getting extended. And basically, he came out and said that obviously we will keep that stuff private. I think with Jakob Poeltl one, which we got to keep this year and next year flat, so didn't have an increase in salary price. And sort of when you have more flexibility, that's when the number increases, and another 2 guys will let it play out. But we're not going to discuss any of that publicly or clearly. So basically not giving any of those insights, the behind-the-scenes scoops, and how those negotiations are going, but revealed that Jakob Poeltl The plan regarding his extension was the Raptors are a little bit in a cap crunch over the next couple seasons. And then 2 years from now, that's when flexibility and different things start to open up. So that's when you see Jakob Poeltl's salary start to increase. That's kind of the game plan with the Toronto Raptors here right now. They have to navigate, they have to figure out the next couple years in terms of their salary situations. Of course, it's not the biggest hindrance. Basketball is the number one priority, but as we heard from the first quote, but that is something that Bobby Webster's taking into account for these different extensions. So while I'm a big RJ Barrett guy, I think it's probably the smart move to see how this team plays out before you throw out a big extension or something like that there. Ochai Agbaji would be more interested in because I think he could be primed for a breakout season, so you might get him on a budget if you extend him now versus future seasons. But we'll see how things shake out there on that front. But we also got some overall philosophy goals for Bobby Webster as the new, he's not titled president, but the lead guy out there in the front office. And he came out and said, so there's a balance. We have continuity right now, so you don't want to get away from that. But you also don't want to be afraid of making change. And I think that's sort of where we are. As you guys know me, it's not my natural personality to come out here and make sweeping statements and pound my fist out on the table. It's really an assessment. I think the tough part is we didn't get to see this team play. If we get to see them play, our group will be quickly able to make those decisions, but it's really difficult. Went on to say, before you see a Brandon Ingram with this group, before you see Darko have a team like this, coach a team like this, we're going to have, you can't come out and say we're going to have to make a ton of changes. But I do think that hopefully you'll see it as I evaluate the team. Our group evaluates the team is and won't be afraid to make change. I think you've seen that in the 12 years that I've been here. We are not going to think the same ways as the rest of the NBA. We're going to not follow the leader in that sense. I think what you've come to expect and know from us, which is where we take the player that we like. We'll make the trade that we want to make, and it's not what everyone else says, so that theme will continue on. So Bobby Webster's essentially coming out and saying, while, we heard a bunch of things, especially at the end of Masai Ujiri's, the last few days where he's trying to find a star to get this team, there's lots of reports that got to get big fish, making one of those big moves early on in the offseason when Masai Ujiri was around. But of course, after he got fired, it was crickets in regards to trade rumors and reports and updates regarding this team. And Bobby Webster just revealed why, because he wants to evaluate this team. They have a lot of talent out there on this roster. They want to see how this roster looks, plays out, feels, given all the talent that they have, does it fit together? I know there's a lot of question marks out there on that from the fan base and from people across the NBA. And then he will be in a position to say, okay, we have to make this change. We have to make this decision. And he's not going to be afraid to make those decisions. So that's the main stuff there. What does it mean for our, the extensions and stuff? It means those aren't coming either, immediately. Everything's going to get evaluated. RJ, Ochai, two guys that I would like to see on this team long term, but of course we'll see how things shake out there. But we did get some insight into what the expectations are specifically for an RJ Barrett, saying, I think with RJ, we've talked a lot about his efficiency, the catch and shoot, continuing to improve, getting to the free throw line, and don't expect to see him have as many double teams as much and that sort of attention. So now he gets to attack some closeouts on the weak side. I think things are really good. He's good at is getting the rim, catch and shoot. The more you see that, the more efficient he is, the more valuable he will be. And then listen, we push him on the other end as well for defensive rebounding. He knows that, insinuating the entire defensive side of the floor. So RJ Barrett, while it's not like, hey, he's thrown out there in trade talks immediately, all that stuff, there are some high expectations for RJ Barrett to improve in the areas that people are looking at because, again, the counting stats are incredible for RJ Barrett here right now. He's one of the best guys out there in the NBA all the way in terms of scoring the paint, slashing, driving, all that type of stuff. But he does have areas to improve, and if he cleans up and proves to the Toronto Raptors that he can do those things out there on a winning team, that will be a major positive. But let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comment section down below. You guys have the best thing as far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.